That time I thought I could not go any closer to grief without dying. I went closer and I did not die. Surely God had his hand in this, as well as friends. Still, I was bent, and my laughter, as the poet said, was nowhere to be found. Then said my friend Daniel, brave even among the lions, "It is not the weight you carry, but how you carry it. Books, bricks, grief, it's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it, when you cannot and would not put it down." So I went practicing. Have you noticed? Have you heard the laughter that comes now and again out of my startled mouth? How I linger to admire, admire, admire the things of this world that are kind and maybe also troubled, roses in the wind, the sea geese on the steep waves, a love to which there is no reply. Saying goodbye to my dog, my sweet girl Lucy, at the 1st of September brought an exorbitant amount of grief, but painting at the rose garden began to bring me back to life. Happy first day of fall, and welcome back to the studio. Today I really want to create a little, I guess you can call it a bucket list. I just want it to be kind of like small little bite-sized things that you don't have to plan for. So of course I want to do the things that would typically make their ways onto a fall bucket list, like going to the pumpkin patch or going apple picking and things like that. But on this list, I just want to create a little bite-sized bucket list where it's just little things that will really ground me and be well-rounded kind of autumn activities to do. So we're going to do that. And then I'd also really like to decorate the studio a little bit, especially the gallery wall. I need to update it for autumn. I think that will be fun. And I think it'll make the space feel really cozy. But first, before we get started, I wanted to share my recent reads with you because they've been pretty good. The first one is, I read this one in the summer. It's called Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe. and it's by Heather Weber, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I'd never read anything by Heather Weber before, but after I read this one, I looked to see if she had any other books that were set in the same town or anything like that. I wasn't really looking for a sequel to this story, but I just wanted to see if maybe any of the characters would pop up in another story. And unfortunately, she didn't have, not that I could find another book in this town, but I wish that she would because I really enjoyed it. This, I think I would categorize as magical realism. While it's a little bit magical, but it's not necessarily like full-on witchy. This book is about a girl who, after her grandmother passes away, she moves to the town to then run the cafe and fulfill her grandmother's wishes. So it's really a self-discovery story, and coupled with like the magical realism part and the small town, I really enjoyed it. And it's not necessarily fallish, but it could be a good transition book for you if you're looking for something that's slightly magical, but not quite, like witches and vampires. Next is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And this one I conveniently finished right before the movie came out. And I knew that they were making a film production of it, but I wasn't sure. I didn't really look into it to see if it was going to be a movie or a series. And I actually think that they could have made this into a series, kind of like Only Murders in the Building, where there's like one murder for the whole like season, but there are different like storylines throughout, kind of like different suspects and all that sort of stuff. And so I think this actually could have been done really well like that, but the movie was good too. They went pretty close to the book. Of course, they had to leave some things out because it was too long. I should have led with what this is about, which it's about a group of people that live in a retirement community, and they have a club called the Thursday Murder Club where they solve cold cases until they have a real murder to solve. Getting to know each character, I think, was part of the fun part, as well as trying to solve the different murders. I really enjoyed the book, but my one thing is that it was a little bit slow to get into. The writing style was like slightly weird for me, and so it took me a while to really get to know the characters and figure out what was going on. But once I got past that, I really enjoyed the story, and I think I will pick up the second one, which I think is a good tell to see if it's a good one. I think I would recommend it. I would just say give yourself a chance to get into it because like I said, it was a really slow start for me. The next book that I want to talk to you about, I don't actually have with me because I lent it to my sister, but it's called The Secret Book of Flora Lee. And I really enjoyed this book. It's one of my favorite books that I've read in a long time, partially because of the writing style. I just really enjoyed the writing. It was very kind of lyrical in the way that it described things, and it was really beautiful, and I loved the imagery. But the storyline was also really good. It's a mystery. The main character is Hazel, and it is set in her like present day time, and then also flashbacks to when she was a child. And when she was a child, she and her sister Flora were sent off to the countryside in an operation that sent kids away from London to avoid like the bombings during World War II. And so she was sent to the countryside with her sister, and while they were there, her sister went missing, and she always tried to figure out what happened. And now in the present day, she is working at a used bookstore, and this is not a spoiler, but they receive a package that contains a book called something about the adventures or something about Whisperwood. And Whisperwood was the made-up land that she created to tell stories to her sister about when they were in the countryside before she went missing. And so she takes this to mean that her sister survived, and then because she could have been the only one to pass on that story because she had told no one else. And so she takes it as kind of a clue. And so the book is all about the mystery of what happened to Flora and how Hazel kind of tries to figure out what happened and kind of like her little adventures along the way, and also flashbacks to when they were little and when they were in the countryside. And my favorite parts of the book were when they were in the countryside because it was so cozy and described in such a, like I said before, lyrical way. I just really loved that part. And I could just picture it so beautifully. It's a historical fiction novel, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it was one of my favorite books that I've read in a really long time. Okay, and the next book is The Late Night Witches. And this book I read right after The Secret Book of Flora Lee. And so it had kind of big shoes to fill because I love that book so much. And so it took me a second to sort of like switch to a different writing style because this is not lyrical. It's just kind of like fun. It's a lighthearted and sort of, it kind of gives the vibes of practical magic because there are sister witches that are kind of like trying to solve a problem, and one is kind of more responsible than the other one, and it's set by the sea, and it's witchy, and so it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and I think that if you're looking for a book that is sort of like lighthearted and not scary, which is in vampires, but has that kind of like fantastical, magical aspect to it, then I think that you would enjoy this. And I think it's really perfect for October. And you know how at the end of a book they sometimes have like a chapter from like the first chapter from either their next book or their best-selling book? Well, I forgot to say this was by R.L. Wallace, which is important because the next book is also by R.L. Wallace, because at the end of this one, it started the first chapter of this one, and I was enjoying it. So I decided to pick it up, and I'm about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I think I actually like this one just the slightest bit more than the Late Night Witches, only because it's not quite as supernatural as the Late Night Witches. I mean, it's still witchy, but it's not like vampires. So I think that I like that aspect, and I really like the coziness of the small town. It's about a girl and her two aunts that live in this bed and breakfast, and one of their guests is found murdered. And so they're trying to solve what happened because one of the aunts is a suspect. And so they're trying to like prove her innocence and figure out what happened. And so far I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's perfect for the autumn season. So those are my recent reads. I hope that they maybe gave you a little inspiration for your fall TBR. If you read any of them, let me know what you think in the comments, or if you do read them, you can come back and let me know what you thought of it. I'd love to hear. I love talking about books, so let me know, or let me know what you've been reading. I'd always love to hear. I've been reading quite a bit, so more recommendations are always really nice. Anyway, now I think it's time to get into our to-do list, which is starting with the bite-sized bucket list. So let's get to it. This is what I was working on earlier. I was finishing up, I know it's October 22nd, but I finished up my September collage. I guess it's almost time to do October now. Okay, so it's the next day, and I wasn't really loving the way that my bucket list was turning out in the little collage that I was doing. It looked kind of messy, and so I ended up typing it out on my computer and creating this little digital version, which I'll include here. And I created a bite-sized one and a more like activities-based one. And then you would have seen a little clip I shared of the leaves I collected yesterday. I went on a little walk. I did collect some fall leaves, and so that was really special on the first day of fall to get to do that. The first thing I really want to do is the little gallery wall, kind of fallify it. So let's get to it. Alright, I think I'm going to end the video here. I hope that your autumn is off to a really good start, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys!